Good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this April 6th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad you're here with us today. How are you, man?
We're on Roku.
And we're on Roku.
Yeah, if you don't know how to download it, just go on your Roku, go to the search bar, type in EOA Live. Our app will come up. Click on it.
Yep.
And we have a live window with all the on-demand underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest way to find our stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, by far.
First Friday. We're almost there.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
So,
let's just jump right into sports and get this thing rolling.
All right.
Tiger baseball played Tuesday. I thought they wouldn't play. I mean, I really did. The weather was crappy, but they ended up getting games in against Baker. They beat Baker. Softball beat Baker as well. The varsity baseball team's the number one ranked team in the state. They play tomorrow at home versus Astoria at 1 p.m. And then JV plays after varsity tomorrow at 4 against Pilot Rock. So the softball team, so they're not number one in OSAA or in the coaches poll, but in a couple of the polls on the west side that are voted on by the media, they're number one. So LeGrand softball, they have a chance this year. They really do. They're going to play Saturday here at 11 against Philomath. Get out and support them. They're rolling. Both teams are really good. They're really fun to watch, and go support the Tigers.
What time Saturday? I'm sorry.
I said it.
I know, but repeat it just for me.
All right. 11.
Thank you. Yeah, because I might go. Those things roll by, and I never get to actually go to one, and so yeah.
EOU softball travels to Klamath Falls for one of the most important weekends of the season. They take on the number one team in the country, the OIT. OIT softball team is tough, man. They're really tough. They're number one for a reason. They'll play them 3 times in CCC play and then 1 time that doesn't count for conference. Last year, OIT came here and EOU swept them when OIT was number 3 in the country. Mm-hmm. And that's what really put EOU on the map nationally last year. So EOU's number 25. OIT's number 1. OIT has a LeGrand girl, JC Sievert, and it's going to be, it's going to be at least the first 2 games because they're going to pitch Hoskins. EOU's going to pitch Hoskins back to back. I'm sure they have to. I mean, there's too big of a gap between their number 1 pitcher and their number 2, so they're going to pitch their number 1 in game 1 and number 2, and she's been absolutely on fire, just dominating teams. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get at least 2. That would be great to come out of there with 2 against the number 1 team in the country. EOU baseball has a much-needed weekend off. They're 1-27. They're having a rough season, and hopefully they can get things turned around. EOU track and field's in Spokane this Saturday at the Whitworth Peace Meet. And that's about all I got for sports.
All righty. Well, let's see. Let's take a look outside. And I did a little, where's that at? I did a little weather. Here's the, since we don't have Gabe, here's what the weather looks like today. It's supposed to be up to 50. The wind is supposed to be blowing 22 miles an hour. And tonight it's supposed to get down to 39. So still looks like a nice day. Doesn't look like it's supposed to rain. So
it still looks like winter.
It does.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you, the sunshine yesterday, I loved it.
What did it sunshine for about an hour?
No, it was, you were probably looking at the back of your eyelids. Not yesterday. No, it was sunny most of the day. Yeah. It was cold.
It must have been inside when it was sunny because when I was outside, it was not sunny.
It was cold, but it was, the sun was nice. Yesterday afternoon, or excuse me, yesterday morning about 10 or 11.
It was nice and sunny.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Sunny doesn't mean anything to me if it's 34 degrees outside.
Man, I will take the sun. It changes my entire attitude, I tell you. So, well, hey, Stu Spence from Parks and Recreation, LeGrand Parks and Recreation Department is here with us this morning, and we'll be right back with him. right, we're back with Stu Spence from LeGrand Parks and Recreation Department. I had to look up your title
Right.
today.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very important, whatever it is.
So, yeah,
Right.
and we've known each other for a while. I think we were talking earlier. This is the first time we've been in the studio in person.
Right.
I think we talked during COVID and stuff.
Right.
But yeah. So how you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. Great. Yeah. Yeah. It's starting to be springtime. So even though Dodzy doesn't recognize sunshine, I mean, we all had a great day yesterday. It was nice to get out.
It's not that I don't recognize sunshine. I just, if it's still like 35 degrees out,
You just negate it. It's
it's
still cold.
I don't want to be out there.
No doubt. Yeah. If those baseball games got in, I mean, my staff did a great job. The baseball teams do a great job getting those fields ready. And it's fun time of year.
I was really surprised they played on Tuesday.
Yeah. We had snow on the ground, and then they worked hard. So it's great.
What about tomorrow?
Could be raining.
We'll
We'll
see. It's
see.
supposed to rain tomorrow, yeah.
Hopefully, fields are in good shape right now, so hopefully we can get them on.
So Kyle's talked about quite a bit about the warning track area being soft.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So is there any plan in the future for that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
That's just what takes that field out of play now. The varsity baseball field, everything else is playable except for the warning track. This year, we had some real issues with it just being too muddy. So when the warning track's muddy, if you can imagine a player going into the wall, trying to feel the ball and planting their foot right in mud, and then you can imagine knees getting blown out and hips and everything. It's just not safe. So we had to take the field out of play, and it's frustrating because everybody wants to get on the field. It's just it's a hard decision. So we always err on the side of safety, but yeah.
I keep hearing stories that they're going to change it to that really fine pumice type
I hope
stuff.
so. Yeah. He's talking about investing in that a little bit, and hopefully the high school can pitch in, and hopefully.
That's the best. That's the best substance that you can put there.
Yeah, it just drains and it's safe.
It just drains so good.
Yeah. That'd be great.
So who is they, and how does that work when those kind of improvements happen?
Yeah, so it's hard to explain because the Parks and Recreation Department has public parks, right? So we offer the amenities that we have in all of the parks, and we maintain all those. Sometimes special groups, interest groups, have special needs, i.e. baseball, right? I don't necessarily need a warning track that's perfectly playable because the public can go play on it and be fine. Highly competitive #1 baseball teams in the state or EOU college teams need a certain playing service, right? So the way we approach those things are in partnership. So instead of my budget paying for everything, they pitch in essentially. So we usually end up doing some shared labor costs. Sometimes they have work parties, they come out and help out. And sometimes, we split the cost. Okay. Essentially is the way we do that.
So, and you and I were talking a little bit about, this is a pivot, about pickleball. Okay. Pickleball. Yes. Yeah. Because with people my age and older, I mean, that's a hot thing, And so, but as you were saying yesterday, the pickleball folks haven't come together and organized themselves and come up with some change in order. I mean, is that it?
It's everything.
Yeah.
Right? So pickleball, so we did a parks master plan. We surveyed the entire community. I think we had 500 responses about pickleball. Just came in dead last as a priority, right? So the community tells me that we don't need or want pickleball. It's not a priority for me. That doesn't mean it's not a priority for a group of people or for a lot of people. It just didn't come out. So when we did our master plan, the whole purpose was to prioritize what's going in the budget, like the Riverside Playground, for example. That's a priority. So the pickleball folks, I've talked to lots and lots of them, and my message is always like, if you guys could, get together, kind of organize a little bit, come with a presentation, come alongside and say, hey, we would like to work together and help develop pickleball courts and look at locations or help raise money or help advocate. That's kind of how the magic works.
That's exactly what they did in Dallas, the town I used to live in.
Sure.
There's a group of people that really wanted to play pickleball. They
Sure.
raised a bunch of money. They went to the city. They found a spot. The city helped with
Sure.
part of the money,
Sure.
and they built the pickleball courts.
Yeah, that's
now
great.
there's
And I've
pickleball
never
courts there.
played pickleball before ever. I don't think I've even watched. I mean, I've watched it on YouTube or something like that, just because I didn't know what it was. But can you restripe or add stripes to tennis courts in order to make that work?
Yeah. It's a weird dynamic, in the pickleball world. Pickleballers want pickleball courts, right?
Okay.
Tennis players want tennis courts.
Okay.
So you can share, but and we probably should share in Eastern Oregon because there's not a lot of resources, right? Sometimes there's a rub. Pickleballers are generally, like you said, older folks, right? So they've talked to the school district. Well, older folks generally like to play during the day, and school's happening during the day, and that's where our tennis courts are in LeGrand. So they come to me because of that. They play at Riveria School inside, but they don't want to play inside during the winter or during the summer, right? So they would love to do that. So I'm listening, and I'm hoping, I'm encouraging them to kind of mobilize and get organized, and I'm not asking for them to pay for everything, but it would be great if we could kind of come and work side by side.
And I think that when they raise money for something, whomever that is, then that means buy-in for you. That means that there's enough people that care about this, that they've raised some funds, and then you can look at your budget and figure out how to help with that and stuff. So it was interesting. You told me you came from Bend, and that talk about the crime element of pickleball. That was kind of interesting.
I never lived in Bend, but about 10 years ago, when pickleball really arrived in Oregon, it was big time. Bend was building all these pickleball courts. It was all the rage in our field in Parks and Recreation that pickleball ended up being the kind of number one law enforcement call to parks, right? So what happens is you get highly competitive people that are, up in age a little bit. They're very, I don't know, I'm stereotyping here. Not everybody's like that.
Right.
But they had lots and lots of law enforcement calls. We had lots and lots of, what do you call it? Like news articles coming at us for the emails and the kind of the, whatever that's called, the listserv. That's
right.
What
Yeah. Okay.
So it was like, another incident at the pickleball courts in Bend. And it was just a real challenge for law enforcement. I'm sure that LeGrand folks aren't like that, but just saying it was a thing. It was a challenge.
But see, if you kind of extrapolate that to, because it's my older friends that are retired and they live in Nampa. They're all into it. That's a big thing. Okay. And so, but it's not hard to extrapolate a guy in his 70s. He's trying to reclaim a little bit of his youth somewhere in there. Yeah.
Right. And then fire is still there.
That's right. Yeah. And so, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
So, well, what else is going on in the parks and recreation world?
So many things. So at City Council last night, we talked about a few things. There's a Riverside Playground project. I talked about that earlier. So in the master plan, that was kind of the number one priority. We've got a group of 20 or 30 folks that have stepped up to help volunteer to do that. And what I mean by do that is fundraise, help design, help build, help advertise, all those things, right? They've picked a design. They haven't picked a design yet. We're going to meet tonight and pick kind of a theme. The trending theme so far is kind of a LeGrand theme, where we have different parts of the playground represent different parts of the valley.
Oh, interesting.
It should be kind of fun. So think about maybe mirrors at the playground, and there's a giant rock you can go play on, right?
Uh-huh.
Or maybe there's downtown LeGrand and there's something else. Maybe there's I don't know. We haven't decided yet, right? But it'll be really fun. That is going to transform the park. I'm not sure if you've all seen that sort of poured in place, sort of rubbery surface for playgrounds, like Baker has one. You can roll wheelchairs right onto it. You can put cool paint designs into it. So we're going to do that. So the bark chips under the playground will be gone.
So a question about that.
Yep.
That it doesn't seem like it's that old. I know it's been 20. I've been there not too long ago, and it's not in too bad a shape.
Right.
So is it just like we reached the end of. I mean, talk to me about
Yeah, I'm really glad you
why
asked that.
why important. Why is it
Yeah.
important to do now?
Right. Really, really means a lot to a lot of people. A lot of people put a lot of time into that playground. So yeah, it's 20 years old. It's a wood structure. And
Okay.
wood struggles, right, in weather. So when they picked that structure, it had a 20-year life expectancy, which
Okay.
we're going to hit dead on. My guys go out and maintain it. They make sure it's safe. It is safe. However, we hired a consultant last fall to come out and evaluate it from the manufacturer. And they said, you've got a couple of years left because you have some splitting and twisting in some of the main support beams.
Mm.
And at that point, the committee met and said, should we fix it or replace it? And fixing it costs almost as replacing it. So they chose to replace it
Okay.
with something that would last even longer.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got this great community group, and we're hoping in a couple of years, it's going to be probably a $300,000 to $400,000 project. It's
Wow.
going to be a lot. So
that and
it'll take a little
so
time.
yeah, is it going to be in the same
Yeah,
space,
what we
same
call it.
area?
Yeah.
Footprint. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So far, that's what the committee has decided. Anything can change, but yeah, it's going to be epic. It's going to be huge, and it's going to be great. I love it. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's going to be something people are going to see for 40 years. It's going to be there. So.
And I tell you, I mean, your enthusiasm drives a ton of stuff. I mean, I just love it. I love it because you're. I mean, it's just evident that you love what you do.
Yeah.
So talk about what else is going out there at Riverside Park.
Yeah. So
because
the other thing is the trail. So we have a dead end trail to nowhere. Everybody makes fun of. So it's great, really heavily used, goes along the river. So some of the discussion.
So back up, but look, how did the trail from nowhere get to where it went?
Right, right. Well, 10 or so years ago, the city built the initial stretch with Island City, with the kind of the handshake deal that Island City would continue it on to the ponds and essentially to Walmart, right?
Okay.
So it would be this really neat connection with a park on the Island City end near what's now kind of the Millers, behind Millers there.
Mhm.
And then it would connect all the way back to Riverside Park. So Island City had a grant to do that project, but there was some bumps in the road, so they decided not to do that. So then the city of LeGrand had some people come out and say, couldn't you just extend it into a loop, at least so it wasn't a dead end? The city of LeGrand owns the next two lots to the east. So we did some work and decided that, we could complete a loop and it wouldn't be a dead end trail anymore. So I wrote a grant. We had some good participation and we got some funding to do that project. So this fall, you'll see a loop go in. We're going to plant 200 or 300 or 400 trees and shrubs in there.
Wow.
To help with the neighbor screening as well as just the experience for walkers and bikers. And now after that, you can send your kiddo down and say, okay, go down and come back, and it'll be a natural loop and come back. Whereas now you get to a fence and you're done, right? It'll just be an improvement to the park.
And so how much acreage, how big is that area that you guys are opening up there?
It's about, acreage, I don't have the top of my head, but it's about 1,600 more feet of trail.
Okay.
So substantial amount of asphalt.
Quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it'll almost double believe it or not, that's about a quarter mile that's there. So it'll almost double that length, but it'll come back in a loop fashion. So,
okay.
But anyway, and then eventually I'd like to, and I put some outdoor adult exercise stations in. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but along
like
some
a place
trails.
to do dips, a place to do pull-ups.
Yeah. Even just a bar to hang on to where people can stand up, sit down if they're older or whatever, not super high fitness or whatever, but just some active stations. So hopefully put some back there too. So it adds another amenity to the park that we don't have.
Cool. So now the bridge that is there,
Mhm.
that was initially part of this trail, correct?
Yep.
So the idea was you could park on, was that May Lane or whatever it was, and then
sure, get to Riverside Park.
And do people still use that?
Sure. Oh yeah. There's a story walk there too. The library changes out a story, so there's little pedestals every 50 feet. So there's a page of the book. Then you walk another 50 feet, read another page of the book, and they're always children's stories that they switch out quarterly. So it's really fun. So we have that. If we have the outdoor exercise stations, it'll be a functioning, amenity. Versus now it's, it's great, but it's a dead end.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How, when you look at our park system and you look at park, I mean, how do we rank with other cities our size? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you personally, I mean, you've got to be, how do we rank with that
Sure.
stuff? Yeah.
Well, if you put it all together with the indoor pool, year-round pool, and the park system and the ball fields,
Yeah.
we have turf ball fields. I think I put it up against anybody in Eastern Oregon. I don't think you can find better facilities. Nobody has an indoor pool. I mean, Baker has a YMCA pool.
Yeah.
Hermiston doesn't. Pendleton doesn't. Those are bigger towns, right? And we have a better pool than they do because we have a year-round pool, right? Now, Pendleton's pool is fun because it's a kind of a destination.
It's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, in the summertime.
Right. But when it comes to actual full, like fitness and swim lessons and full year-round services, they don't have it. So in our ball fields, when I rolled into town my very first time, I've never been here before. Right before my interview, I came to town and I ran around and I went to the pool, I went to the ball fields, I went to Riverside Park. I mean, I was just like, wait a second, how big is this town? You look at the Riverside Park Pavilion, you look at the pool, you look at Optimus Field with the Green Monster. No, you can't compare it. And then the cherry on top of the hill, Morgan Lake, right? So
Yeah.
You put it all together. Now we win.
Well, and so that's where I was going next. So some people still might not understand that Morgan Lake is a designated park. I mean, it's
City
one of the
park,
things
yeah.
that you guys are responsible for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. So LeGrand's weird because there's two parks outside of city limits.
I was
right?
going to say, and Morgan Lake's not even in the city limits.
Right.
but
And
it's a
neither is
city
Riverside Park.
That's
right?
true. Yep.
So it's very interesting. Riverside's different because it's contiguous, but Morgan Lake's not. So yeah, it's a unique scenario. That lake was deeded to the city in the 50s, and the city's taken care of it as different purposes ever since. And now the users at Morgan Lake are paddleboarders, families, kayakers, campers.
Kevin Calabro,
Kevin,
the voice of the Blazers.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Kevin.
He loves Morgan
Casey.
Lake.
Does he really?
Oh yeah.
That's his spot. I've talked to him on the phone,
Yeah.
and he was on a paddleboard in Morgan Lake.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but he's going to be.
Oh, he's a Hall of Fame
Yeah.
announcer for
Yeah,
sure.
He's
No question.
He's the best in business.
And when he was with Seattle, he was
Oh man, the magic carpet is
just
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
He was right out here, like I don't know, a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's when I
Yeah.
talked to him on the phone at Morgan Lake.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway, Morgan Lake, we've done a lot it had a bad reputation for a while that there was a lot of drug deals and transients, and that's just not the case anymore. It's just all families, and believe it or not, we average 25 different states every summer, license plates.
Wow.
25. Half the country goes to Morgan Lake. So it's crazy because we track that now.
But you've done there's been a lot of work that has
a
happened.
lot of work.
So talk about the work that has happened at Morgan Lake over the last
Yeah.
few years. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, for one thing, we put new picnic tables and fire rings at all the spots because we didn't have that before. And then we've put in some different signage to encourage people to, you can't have fires here. You can have fires in designated areas. There's the registration, right? So people have to register, and we inherently that holds you accountable.
Right.
And then just the camp host being a presence up there has been huge. Shutting the gate every night, opening it in the morning has been the number one improvement because people can't go up there at 2 a.m. and nothing good happens at 2 a.m. at Morgan Lake.
I mean, that was the best part about Morgan Lake growing up.
But
Everybody says that. Yeah. It's true.
Well, we used to go up there, but we'd never like party up there because we knew every once in a while the cops were coming through there, and you have Mount Emily or anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
But there never was a gate or a camp post or any of that growing up. Which I mean, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
It
They
holds
didn't even
people
have garbage cans back in the day. I'm like,
No.
well, what do you expect? There's going to be garbage everywhere if there's
Right.
no cans. But the theory was if there's no cans, we don't have to go maintain it. Well, when I got here, we changed that quickly because it was trashed. So that helped a lot. Just simple things.
so and can you camp at Morgan Lake?
You can, yeah.
Mhm.
It's free still. You can camp up to 3 days. I think it used to be 2 weeks. That's something we cleaned up too because people would squat and 3 days,
people used to
no time.
live up there in
Yeah.
the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just different now. It's completely cleaned up and it's a great spot. And I'm proud of all that stuff we've done. It's been great.
So now, yesterday the second reading of the ordinance about talk about that ordinance and how that changes parks a little bit and why that is.
Couple things. The two highlights really were alcohol. It used to be you could have alcohol in the park, and it's fine. You could do that whenever you wanted to. So alcohol is now prohibited in parks. And the first comment is always, "Well, wait,
Moonlight."
Exactly. Exactly. What about moonlight?
That was my first thought in my head.
Everybody, right? So what's different about that is permitted events or activities can still allow it. So that's a permitted activity or event.
You can't just go sit on the park bench and drink a 40 though. Now.
Exactly. Which is essentially the reason for that in the ordinance, because we had at Max Square, there's been lots of problems with that. There's been lots of alcohol being at Max Square and minors involved, and that was a primary discussion. So the essence of the ordinance is not to say you can't have a beer in the park with your family at a picnic and you're just hanging out. But if you're causing problems or you're a little loud or you're being stupid, then law enforcement has a way to say, look, that's not allowed. You have to go. It's just a tool, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to stop. Like, no, I'm not going to name any names or groups, but certain groups like to partake in watching sporting events in the summertime, and they sit in a certain area and have a couple beers. It's like, that's not the issue. The issue is people that are out there causing problems and getting hammered.
Well, and I think that one thing that's been highlighted through COVID, through the homeless crisis that's going on is we've been missing some tools in order to control some of this stuff. So recently they also city council passed a camping ordinance and talk about how that affects, some of this stuff and why that is, why it was needed.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of concern, not just at Max Square, but other places of campers in public spaces. The Oregon legislature and the Supreme Court, the district court has it's allowed it. It limited cities and government agencies to enforce any kind of no camping because people have a right to rest, essentially. So
wasn't that a Supreme Court thing?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a basic function of living, right? You have a right to breathe, you have clean air, you have a right to drink clean water, you have a right to rest. Same argument. So that was the Supreme Court's argument that essentially forced the legislature to pass laws to codify that. So after they codified that, cities struggled with, we've got this homeless camp in the middle of a whatever, next to a school or whatever. How do you do that? We want to help these people and give them resources, but so cities went back and forth, and then we have something called time, place, and manner. So you can rest, but you can do it at a certain time, in a certain place, in a certain manner. So we defined that in an ordinance essentially. And now you can't camp in any city parks. That's not a place you can camp in, right? So that includes Max Square and Riverside Park and all the parks. So that's been really successful. I know the warming station closed recently. There's been people hanging out, and trying to find places to stay warm and things. And we've been out educating folks that you can't sleep in the park anymore. You can't camp in the park anymore. So the police department and the parks department, we all work with social service agencies to try to help folks out and try to connect them and get them what they need.
I would imagine, because when I saw you there, it was Monday of this week. You were working on cleaning up some stuff that had been left, at Max Square. And I mean, I would imagine a lot of what you and your crew does is just clean up stuff. I mean, trash or stuff that's been abandoned.
It's hard. It's just time consuming, right? So you have,
and that's not necessarily all related to homelessness. That's just related to
people.
Yeah.
It's a main part of our job. People, I don't know, they'll take their household garbage and put it in a park garbage can.
Right.
Well, somebody's got to pick that up. It's going to cost somebody money to do that. You can't just do that. So we've lots of that. Lots of folks leaving things in the park. If you leave something in the park that looks like it's valuable, we grab it and put it in the lost and found. We hold on to it, I think, for 30 days. And if people call and claim it, great. Kids leaving coats and water bottles or whatever, that's normal, right? But sleeping bags and camping paraphernalia and all that stuff takes up a lot of space. We store it for folks. Sometimes they call us, not usually. and then it ends up getting donated or dumped. But it's just a time and money thing. It's expensive and hard.
Well, and what, it took me a while to catch on to this, but when trash is left somewhere and it's just left out,
Sure.
then other people
More
kind of have
trash.
the idea of like, oh, it's okay to throw my trash there.
So
Yeah.
true. Like graffiti.
Right.
Graffiti is the exact same way.
Okay.
We clean graffiti within 24 hours everywhere. In every park, you won't see any bit of graffiti. If you do, it's because it's in the morning. We haven't got there yet. So as soon as that graffiti hits, there'll be more.
Right.
If you don't clean it up. You
Interesting.
can see evidence of that in the alley over behind Max Square. So
Yeah,
it's
the alley that I live off of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just magnifies.
terrible, man.
It just more and more graffiti because people are like, cool, we can paint this. And I don't want to forget the third project, right? Like just to switch total gears.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The pump track. So
yes.
What the heck is a pump track?
Right.
So back in the day, like when I was a kid, we had BMX tracks, and it was like a dirt series of jumps, and you started on this. There's a gate, and you pedal down, and then you jump, and you race around this track and come back. Right. Super fun. Still have it like motocross, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Pump tracks are not quite that way. They're paved, asphalt paths, tracks. A series of sort of hills and valleys, if you will. So the theory is you start at the top, you pedal down or not, you coast down, the momentum will carry you up over the next hill and then down the next, and then you don't technically have to pedal the whole way. You can coast. So it's a great experience for beginners or people that don't know how to pedal quite yet. Little scooter bikes or scooters are great for those. And community group got organized, raised money. The Blue Mountain Single Track Trails Club, I think, raised all the money, and I think they're gonna get there. It's about $150,000 project, maybe a little bit more. We're gonna put that next to the skate park to connect the two. So I think it's going to really increase the safety of the skate park because lots of parents will go with their little kiddos for the pump track and other responsible adults versus the skate park, which is kind of unsupervised right now. So we're excited to have kind of a new amenity at Pioneer Park that will be another unique amenity that no other park system has in Eastern Oregon that we do. Just add it to the list that makes us number one.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, when my kids were little, we didn't, the bikes without pedals are very popular now.
Yeah.
And so little kids are learning how to.
Yeah. Little balance bike. I don't know what they call them, but
I don't know. Yeah. But that's a thing. I mean, they have little BMX races and the kids don't pedal. They just,
it's fun.
They do the Flintstone thing.
They do. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really neat amenity, and it was really neat how that group organized and raised money and worked with the city. We helped write grants for them, and we were helping coordinate things and contractors, and we'll do some of the labor part, and they've got contractors that are volunteering and money raised, and it's a good project.
Yeah. When are they close to construction, or what's
I think they're shooting. I think they'll have the money by, I think, June of 24. So next June is when we'll plan construction.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that'll be a big deal because it's such a unique thing that there's only a handful in the state, in parks.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's going to be great. And that kind of connects the whole cycling culture with Mira.
Right.
It is who we are in our community. We are that outdoor recreation place, right? So people come here from miles to mountain bike Mira or to experience our outdoor recreation. This is just another connection to that. It'll be great.
So recreation being your thing, what is your recreational thing personally? What do you do?
Oh man, mine is definitely camping with my family. We love to go on road trips every summer and do, drag the trailer, go to Yellowstone, go to national parks.
Yeah.
That's my number one by a mile. Like my happy place is at the campfire, maybe with something in my hand. It might be water, might be soda, something. And just, that's my happy place. Totally off the grid, no cell phone service. That's it for me. Yeah, 100%. In the winter, I'm a big bowler too. I love bowling. I love, going to the games with my kiddos at high school. All that stuff's great. I'm a big cheerleader, you know.
Well, and
at
that's where I
football
was
games
going to
and
go
stuff,
next.
so
Was
it's my thing.
yeah, it was like yes. So when you don't sit in the adult area,
Right.
you
Well,
yeah.
I mean, let's not make it sound creepy, but I mean, it's not like I'm hanging out, not like with the high school kids.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy, hanging out with
That's
the
not
band
making
or
it
in the
sound
student
creepy.
section.
yeah,
Well, I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm in the adult section sometimes,
yeah,
but I love interacting with the kids, and
Yeah.
I think they love it back. My kids on the JV team and baseball. So I walk up to those guys and they all chant my name, you know, and like, what's he gonna do next? And we had some fun interactions with some other teams last year, just with me kind of heckling, and it was all good fun. It's not like it was mean and nasty. It was just fun, and some of the other high school kids just kind of love that. And it's a blast. So yeah,
Well,
it's just my personality. I
no, and it's awesome because I know when we do the games and we're in the box,
guess. Right.
we can hear you.
Who the heck is that?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like-
there he is.
Yeah, Stu's here, and
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
still,
fun.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Have a good time.
No, I mean, I think that, and you bring that, you know, that enthusiasm you bring with you,
Yeah.
wherever you
To
are.
city council meetings, to football games. It's great. But that's just who I am. You know, it's I love living life to the fullest and just being that guy that's a cheerleader with my staff, with our program. I mean, I feel like my staff get a lot done. They're amazing, right?
Mhm.
Some of that's because I'm cheerleading, but I've got a great team. They really do a lot of great stuff. And we don't just do parks, right? We have urban forestry. We take care of 500 trees. We have parks and right-of-way trees. We talked about that off the air, that we kind of take care of. We've got recreation programs, sports leagues. We got a brand new adult soccer league this spring it's going to kick off. We've got 30 or 40 guys doing that, guys and gals.
Wow.
So that's brand new. Flag football and tackle football and all those things. We're doing all that stuff too. And then the pool is a full-time operation, of course, with teaching hundreds of kids how to swim every year through the school district and through our lesson programs, and adult fitness, folks that are in rehab, trying to rehab their knees or hips or whatever. Swimming pool, they're in there all the time. Older folks, that's their only way to exercise because they can't walk anymore like they used to or run, so they come to the pool. So I'm just really extremely proud of the entire offerings that we do. I think the taxpayers get a good bang for their buck for what we offer and give back. We're always pushing for more. It's good stuff.
How do you resource? So let's let's take the adult soccer program that's starting. How do you resource that? I mean, and the bigger question is you have physical responsibilities, properties, nuts and bolts stuff that has to be done, but then there's kind of these activities.
Sure.
They're mushy. I mean, they're like, I don't know how. I mean, how do you encourage something like that to get started?
Yeah.
And then how does the Parks Department manage it? And do they throw funds into that, or I don't know? Talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, this one's a good one because it's brand new. So this one, there's a survey that went out over the fall and winter. We'd like to add this and that. What is your top vote? Pickleball was on that list too. So, is it adult soccer? Is it pickleball? The variety of choices.
Right.
So in the end, adult soccer was the top choice of folks. We want to play we want an adult soccer league. And when I mean that, I don't mean like World Cup, like where they play 11. Is soccer really a sport? I don't know. I'm not just kidding. I stir that up because one of my staff is a soccer guy. So when he watches this back, which I'm sure he will, and then I can just get my little dig in. So anyway, I think the league is like 5-on-5. So it's more of an action-packed sort of short field league for adults.
Okay.
So they're not running 100 yards and dying. Anyway, long story short, survey went out. He implemented the program, advertised the program. We take registrations through an online software program that we have. So people go to the website, click to register, pay $30 or whatever it is. And then that money goes into the pot to pay for it. And we have the fields already. You have to buy the goals and some other things and logistics and have referees and all that jazz. But all that budget gets built with, we're getting really deep here, but there's a methodology to this where sort of adult programs pay for themselves, no taxpayer support, and kids programs don't. So my theory is that if it's an adult program that adults that want to do for recreation, they're going to have to pay for all the expenses and more. And then the kids programs, like the after school program, $30 a week. It doesn't pay for itself, but that's why the taxpayer
Right.
supports the kids programs, right? Like the youth leagues and the after school programs and things like that. So we have it's actually pretty sophisticated methodology that goes into how do you price these things? How do you budget for them? How does it, where does it fall? Community events that are free. There's a reason they're free. That's in our methodology.
Right.
So anyway, that's a lot more than you wanted to know.
No, but that is
that's the way
very,
we
I
do it.
mean, that helps me understand, because that is kind of where I was going. Well, how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, pretty demanding. My leadership style is compassionate and demanding, and we talked about me being a cheerleader. My bar is always very high. I'm always saying next level to my staff.
Mhm.
So we need to be next level, which means instead of going to the Oriental trading to get prizes, maybe it's getting stuff that's way better than that.
Right.
Just that's a silly example, but next level. How can we make this program the best in the region, the best in the country, whatever? That's always my theory.
Right.
Next level, I always have a high bar for my staff, and it's hard, because sometimes they're like, "Okay, Stu, that's a lot, and we're only 2 people. We can't quite do that,
Right.
but we're going to try." So, to their credit, they do. They usually succeed, and it's great. So,
I like the words "don't settle for mediocrity."
ooh, nice. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
get stuck just
Yeah.
settling and getting a rut.
And let's
Like,
face
don't
it,
settle
Eastern
with
Oregon,
that.
right? Eastern
Yeah.
Oregon, sometimes
easy.
we're like,
It's easy.
it's fine. Nobody expects anything more.
Right.
Because
Right.
we live here and everybody's kind of relaxed. No.
But from the minute, whatever the event might be, it's a birthday party or I don't know, whatever it is, the minute you walk in, whether that was the cheapest thing they could possibly do
Right.
or not,
Oh, yeah.
And
Look at the daddy-daughter dance the Rotary does. And that's a good example. That's next level.
yeah,
You go in, you have an experience. Like that I would put up against any in the state.
Yeah.
Like that's a good example.
Yeah.
The decorations, the theme, the way that the volunteers get into it, the photography, the
Right.
whole experience
Yeah.
is next level. That's what we're going for.
yeah,
And I know a lot of people have gone to that. So it's a really easy example. And that's what we try. That's what, soccer league, we're going to have people, refs in uniform. We're going to have the lines are going to be painted straight. I don't know. It's
yeah,
silly
right,
stuff.
yeah,
but
right.
you said it, like mediocrity in Eastern Oregon. It's like, yeah, it's fine. At
Well,
least
yeah,
we have it. Nah.
but that's appreciated. I mean, if you're gonna do a line anyhow,
Just simple.
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not take a few extra minutes and
Right.
put a string out and do it straight?
Straight.
Yeah,
It's a silly example, but very, very true. Very true. If you look at other communities and you see, okay, yeah, they didn't really take pride in that. So,
well, and it elevates the entire thing, because you have the grandparents that come to the game and they go like, "Oh wow, this is something," and
or the other thing we like to do during flag football, there's like 4 or 5 fields in one big field, little tiny fields. I mean, we put flags up with numbers. So you're on field number 1. Like if you go to the field and you're a grandparent, well, which one's field number 1?
yeah,
Well, that's a simple thing, but
Right.
it's next level. Like, oh, put a flag up that has the number 1 on,
Yeah.
simple,
yeah.
but also important.
Yeah. So, and I totally get that, because you're like, you're talking to my heart.
Yeah.
But what happens are there times when you're the one that ends up putting the flags
Of
up?
course.
Yeah.
Or picking up garbage at Mac Square or
Right. Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever it might be. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, if you have a high expectation or a higher expectation and you need to meet it,
Sure.
and sometimes you don't
Everybody
have the
pitches
staff to
in.
meet it, then you're the dude.
Right. Exactly. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we'll be able to keep the grass cut, people. So if you're watching and you need a summer job, you need to be calling me because
Yeah.
I need summer help really bad. We need lifeguards. We need people that help mow, people to help do the parks. We need people to do all the things we do. And yeah, you're right. Swim meet, I was mopping up floors, picking up garbage, just kind of behind the scenes, right? To make it just roll. Because
Right.
staff are slam busy doing things. And we have a really interesting phenomenon with COVID. So you have pre-COVID programs, everybody's bopping along, living their life, and life is good. Then you have COVID, everybody's like, nope, you can't live your life now for a couple of years.
Right.
And post-COVID, the demand we're seeing is insane. Youth soccer, Pee Wee soccer used to have 70 kids. I think we're at 130 or something.
Right. So the demand of people being
demand.
involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Demand for programs, activities, park
Oh, wow.
amenities, the use of our pavilions. You can rent pavilions. You can't find a weekend anymore. You can't find a Thursday hardly. It's really, really busy. So it's interesting. We're kind of talking off air about this too, but you have all this demand. You struggle with getting people to work, right? So how do you meet the demand, and also being a public agency, the demand of the taxpayer and the community? How do you meet that with limited resources? Not money necessarily, but people.
Mhm.
So yeah, you definitely have to pitch in, and everybody's all in.
Yeah.
That's how we have to do it.
So how many staff do you have?
6.
6. Okay.
Including lifeguards and everything?
Right, no. We have 6 full-time staff, and then we have about 25, lifeguards and other staff, seasonal laborers in the summer, part-time folks that work after-school programs and things. But it's a small crew. There's 2 full-time park staff year-round, and that's it. 2. And you look at the park system, and I hear it on the street almost every day in the summer how amazing the parks look, with 2 full-timers and 4 part-time seasonals.
Yeah.
So 6 people maintain all this stuff, including Morgan Lake. It's unreal how they, I don't know how they do it.
And these aren't
super
small parks. Riverside is not a small park.
Talk about, between Pioneer and Riverside Park, like 20 acres.
That's a lot of mowing.
That's a lot. And a lot of trees to go around when you're mowing to slow you down, right?
Yeah,
So,
very true.
and there's bathrooms to clean, and there's pavilions to get ready, and there's everything, playgrounds to keep safe, and on and on, right? So it's incredible.
All right. So before we quit, tell us like one of the funniest, I don't know, some really, you've had to have seen some or have some strange stories over the last several years.
In the parks, huh?
Well, or in the parks, I don't know. But yeah, somebody's like, yeah, I did never think I would see that, or yeah.
Well, geez, that's a tough one.
It's something you can share, yeah.
Yeah, like, well, let's see, maybe.
Or maybe we did like dumb things that people do.
Well,
How's that?
Maybe not that.
Okay.
But no, I think the funnest things that happen all the time are parents rooting for their kids, right? Their parents do some crazy things. They jump in the middle of the game. They go running out. They, sometimes they complain about the referees or things. Not as much with our leagues because they're more recreational.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the funniest thing to watch is just parents, how they, it's 8 a.m, it's raining, it's, Pee Wee soccer, their kid's 4 years old, and they're like, come on, you need to whatever it is.
Yeah, well, they're coaching them from the
But the best part is the kid's 4. And
right.
The kid's like, where's the ball? Like, let
Yeah,
alone.
the kid doesn't even give a rip.
Why
The kids, all the kid cares about is the fruit snacks and the Gatorade.
Exactly. Give me the fruit snack. When's this thing over?
snack?
It's hysterical. So that's my favorite part of this job is, and parents, like especially first-time parents, this is their first kid, and they're maybe college athletes or high school athletes, and they're like, "You gotta." No,
I was there at one time. I had my oldest daughter, but I wasn't like that. Like I was always actually for my 3 kids, I coached them most of the time.
Yeah,
all the way up to middle school, and I would say like once my son got to the age of like 12, that's when it kind of got competitive because we were playing on, tournament teams that were traveling, paying money to play. Yeah. But up until then, dude, that was my favorite part of their whole experience as kids is watching them go out there and, play t-ball. Like there's that video that's gone on around the internet. There's like 17 kids in the video, and it says, watch this video and pay attention to the one kid in the video every time and watch it over and over again. It's the best video ever. It is absolutely
Why? What
amazing.
does he do?
There's 17 different kids doing different things. One kid's picking the grass. One kid's yelling at his parent. You know what I mean?
No, it is funny about the first time you ever watch T-ball is like the ball goes and
it's like
everybody it's ants. Everybody
Yeah, T-ball especially because, they're running to third base or they're running to
the
wherever
wrong
they're
way.
What
They're-
what's that? Soccer's fun too because there's all over the place. But that's my favorite part. I mean, there's some stories I could tell that aren't, I hate to tell, but that's just kind of the one that is always apparent every year. It's always, I don't know what's the word, the Karen or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's always
or that's
know,
living vicariously through their 5-year-old.
all that.
like
dude,
you can't.
chill,
Like
it's fine.
the kid's 5.
Yeah. We're not keeping score. No, yes, we are. We have
It's 84-2.
and he has 3 assists and this. I'm like, whoa, okay, it's fine. It's gonna be okay. We're not in the major leagues right now.
Right.
But anyway, that's kind of the classic. It happens every year. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of it coaching and stuff, and it's great because in the end, right? They just want what's best for their kid.
Yeah,
and it's fun, but it looks terrible from the outside. Like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
well,
Nowadays, you got the mom that's got the tablet that's keeping every single little stat and calling it out.
Yeah.
Jimmy's hitting 343.
Yeah.
He should probably bunt right here. It's like, yeah, you played 1 year of JV softball. He should probably bunt. Great idea.
Yeah, the stories can go on. Yeah.
oh, I watched a video. I think it was this morning of wrestling parents, a husband and wife, and the wife was standing. It was just the camera wasn't on their kid, but she was watching, and she's pushing on, she's standing up and pushing on her husband, and he was getting all the brunt of her enthusiasm. Yeah,
Enthusiasm.
yeah. Well, hey, we appreciate what you do.
Yeah,
Appreciate your enthusiasm, and I just appreciate your leadership in this area. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff. Fun job.
So, well, hey, you want to get us out of here,
Let's
Kyle?
do it. Good morning, John. Thank you. Let's do it. On this day, April 6th, 1889, George Eastman begins selling his Kodak flexible rolled film for the first time, 1869. 1906, the world's first animated cartoon is released, Humorous Faces of Funny Faces by J. Stuart Blackton. 1917, the United States declared war on Germany and officially entered World War I on this day, 1917. 1925, the first film shown on an airplane on British Air was 1925 on this day.
On an airplane?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
First film shown on an airplane on British Airlines.
Wow.
1980, on this day, Post-it notes were introduced to the world.
Wow.
2016, on this day, the very first baby ever born, human baby, with DNA from 3 parents through mitochondrial transfer happened in Mexico. 2016. So what is that? 7 years ago. Three different parents.
I don't think I knew that could happen. I'm not
It's
surprised.
Yeah, mitochondrial transfer is like that part of that controversial stuff with cloning and all kinds of weird stuff going on. 2021, on this day, the first Superman Action Comics #1, which is the very first time Superman was ever featured in a comic. It sold at auction for a record-breaking $3.25 million 2 years ago on this day.
Wow.
$3.25 million for a comic book.
And when was the comic book originally
It was
made?
like in the 30s, I think,
Okay.
or 40s.
Wow.
The very first Action Comics #1.
Wow.
Yeah, and in order to get that kind of money out of a comic book, it has to be in like pristine shape. So this thing's like preserved to like a 9.5 or a 10 gem mint.
Wow.
So it's been obviously cased. These guys, Todd McFarlane goes as far as like keeping baseballs in like vacuum sealed. Todd McFarlane has one of the biggest collections of sports memorabilia in the world, and he has vacuum sealed like containers and rooms, and it's crazy what they go to. There was a Babe Ruth bat that just sold, I think yesterday or the day before. He hit 59 home runs and had 168 RBIs in 1922, I believe. And the bat that he used for that just sold for a couple million. I mean, a bat, just a piece of wood.
Wow.
It's crazy. The #1 movie on this day, let me get to my little picture real quick. In 1973. What is that, BC? It's Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
Cabaret.
Is it Cabaret?
Cabaret, 1973, #1 movie in America on this day. And then the quote for the day: "The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot." The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. That's it. That's all I got for you.
Wow. All right. Thanks,
Stu,
Stu, for
thank
being-
you.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Eastern Oregon. We'll
See you next Tuesday.
Yep.